I didn't go out to a lot of movies last year for obvious reasons, but one that I made it a point to catch on the big screen was Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Now, this is a film that I think a lot of people in Hollywood had been trying to crack, not in terms of its performance, but in terms of its intent, which was to get butts in seats, as it were, and not just wait for an on demand experience. Now, Dune did pretty well at the box office, not gangbusters, but it did well enough that Warner Brothers decided to mercifully greenlit a part two. For those who are still not in the know, Villeneuve's new adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel, his groundbreaking sci-fi novel, is part one of two. And they didn't film both movies back to back like is commonplace. They waited to see how the first one would do, and then they're like, well, okay, good enough. The next one will come out in a couple of years. So I thoroughly enjoyed the movie on the big screen. I had recently watched David Lynch's version, and I had read the novel, did a whole page to screen about it, which you can find linked in the description below. But it really struck me as a profound experience. It's it's a religious themed work, and I think sort of a religious themed movie going experience. Now, if you didn't experience Dune on the big screen, Warner Brothers has recently released it on 4K Blu-ray. Can you see that? It's also available on regular Blu-ray, and that brings me to what I want to talk about today, which is a new segment I'm thinking about putting out regularly called Featured Extras. Usually featured extras are background players who have a little bit more business than to do on the big screen than just the bodies that fill stadiums, say in a sports movie. It's probably a bad example, but this has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about featured extras as a cute title to look at home video releases and some of the extra features that you can find on there in addition to the movie. Why am I doing this? Well, it occurs to me that the special features as a whole are dying, or they're at least on their way out. With everything kind of going to the digital download model, physical media, I'm sure this has been said before, but yeah, you kind of see the writing on the wall. I am a physical media enthusiast. I've got a wall of Blu-rays and DVDs and some some HD 4Ks up, and it's nice to see the spines all arranged in lieu of actual books, as you can see behind me. The video library is upstairs, and it's a cool way to look at your collection rather than scrolling through a bunch of files in a digital library. I have one of those as well too, but with that, it seems that the investment by studios to put special features out with the home video releases, the imperative just isn't there. And I think it's really sad because for my generation, a lot of filmmakers who are out there now, kind of who didn't go to proper film school, have said that they got their film education largely by watching the extra features, whether that's feature-length documentaries about the making of the movie at hand, or audio commentaries. Some movies had multiple audio commentaries. I think The Rules of Attraction had something ridiculous like 12 audio commentaries, which is bonkers for a movie that came out that completely went nowhere. But yeah, there you go. If you want to know anything about that movie, find that DVD or Blu-ray. I digress, as is commonplace. Anyway, Dune is now out in 4K, and it does have a number of nice special features. And I want to talk about a few of those because they are a nice reminder of why special features, I think, are important. And they're also a reminder of why special features nowadays aren't quite as special as they used to be. Now, there's a lot of good stuff on this disc. There's no audio commentary, which is a bummer. I wonder if Villeneuve or whoever is going to do a track once part two comes out in a couple of years and some change, they do the giant Dune deluxe box set with, even more bells and whistles on them. But audio commentaries for me are very important. They're educational. They're also good to, create to or just do busy work. You kind of put them on like music and just learn while you do other things. So there's no commentary. That's, straight out. That's kind of a disappointment. But I will say there are enough extras like little featurettes on here that you do get a flavor for the kind of passion that Villeneuve and his team brought to bringing Dune to life. Let me just step back and just kind of give you the gold standard for the features that I'm talking about that I wish we could see more of nowadays, and maybe we will in the future, or maybe this really is the end times as far as these bonuses. I'm thinking Furious Gods, the making of Prometheus, I'm talking about the legendary Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings documentaries that I think some of those were longer than all of the movies combined. Um, and even going back to the usual suspects, just in terms of audio commentaries, that was the first time I remember encountering special features associated with the movie. That was back in the mid 90s, where when that film came out, it was actually a 2 VHS tape set. The first cassette tape had the movie on it. The second had the movie with an audio commentary on it from Bryan Singer and the writer of that film. They reproduced that later in home video releases when things went, to DVD and Blu-ray and all that. But it was just kind of a strange idea, A, that you would buy 2 VHS tapes of the same movie, and B, back then, that you would listen to someone talk over the film. Now, I know Laserdisc had done this beforehand, but I didn't have a Laserdisc, so this is my first really encounter with that kind of a special feature. But so back to Dune, finally. One of the featurettes is called Building the Ancient Future. And in here, you get to see Villeneuve talk about the importance of physical sets in this fantastical world. Now, he could have easily had everything be CGI, and CGI, I don't mean to dismiss it as people just pressing buttons on a computer. Those digital artisans are true wizards at what they do. But watching this feature, you get a full picture of the sets that are built, the kind of the textile work that goes into creating this world. It's very clear that the people who put this together thought about everything from, I swear to God, the dust mites that were flying through the air to the digitally printed carpets that were fashioned in Budapest and then manually aged down to look like they'd been part of this ancient yet futuristic somehow civilization. Dr. Kine's lab, we get very small glimpses of it in the film. They're just background decoration, but we get these kind of like cool fly-throughs of all the technology that this doctor on the outpost in Arrakis, I guess, was what she was up to. Now, the cool thing about special features, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're still very important, is, like I said, details like Kine's lab, you barely even notice them. But in this, even though this featurette is only a few minutes long, we do get some gorgeous little hangouts over this lab equipment and people talking about the importance of, we didn't just want to have a lab. We wanted to have a lab that was so alien that there are pieces of equipment that no one has ever thought to use before. It just opens up the imagination. I mean, I've been thinking about some of the stuff I saw in this in the days since I watched this, kind of a throwaway extra, and it's wonderful. It makes me wonder what I'm going to see in the next movie, which I think is about as great an advertisement as you can create for a piece of sci-fi fantasy. Also, speaking of Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings, I noticed as they were focusing on the set design and kind of doing these sweep throughs of the physical sets and also the digital skeletons that they put up in kind of pre-visualizing the sets, there are a lot of rounded doors in Dune, which reminded me of the rounded doors in Hobbiton. Not that the films are related, but it got me thinking about other examples of fantastic set design. And again, I think that's what special features can really do. They pull you out of the film because hopefully the movie itself has you so wrapped up in it that you're not, poking holes or stopping to investigate other things. You're more invested in the drama at hand. But afterwards, when you go and you look at what went into making the movie, hopefully it opens up those doors in the back of your mind to explore further. I want to say that there is another feature in here, designing the sandworm. Now, there was in that first featurette, which is all about the kind of the physical set construction, there is a giant sandworm mural that we see in the film, and that was an actual physical piece. I don't know how many hundreds of feet long and tall it was, but we actually see one of the production designers walking through this grand hallway and pointing to the mural. It's a wonderful, almost impossible to imagine piece of physical artwork, but in creating the sandworms, which are the indigenous creatures to the desert planet Arrakis, they produce the spice that is. It's a psychedelic. It's space fuel. This is for people who might not have seen Dune. In which case, why are you watching this? Um, but in designing the creatures, the people who created them really thought about it. They spent months thinking about the sound design, thinking about the movement, and coming up with something that is realistic yet doesn't stand in the way of the more fantastical aspects of how they wanted these creatures to work. We also get, speaking of the sandworms, there is an educational video that Paul Atreides, played by Timothy Chalamet, or Chalamet, in the film, before he goes to this desert planet from his homeworld of Caladan, he watches this educational piece to teach him about the different houses of the galaxy, the sandworms, the spice melange, all of that stuff. We get the full version of that video. It's just, if you want to watch it without the edits back and forth to young Mr. Timothy Chalamet, you can do that now. Yeah, and those are just a handful of the features that are on this disc, and it's pretty cool. There's also something about the fight choreography with Jason Momoa. It's neat stuff. My one criticism, and this goes back to what I was talking about before with documentaries, is that they're cut up into these little chunks. Some are 3 minutes, some are like 5 or 8. They're cool, but I'm thinking about how much more impactful it would have been had these been woven together into a cohesive feature-length documentary. I don't know if there's enough material here to make a feature-length documentary, but we get enough of the talking heads, we get enough of the behind-the-scenes stuff that I think it could have happened. And again, maybe we'll see that in the future, but it's kind of annoying to pop around the menus and you're getting really into something and all of a sudden it's over and you get kicked out back to the menu and you're like, oh, okay, I'll go explore this thing, instead of sitting down to watch a really great making of documentary. So yeah, that's again, this is just sort of something I wanted to kick off. I hope you like it. Maybe if there are other extra features, if the the format, the genre of I guess supplemental materials does not completely go away, I'll be able to make more of these things. Maybe get a little bit more in depth. But what do you think? Do you watch special features on the movies that you buy? Do you go completely digital and just download the movie? And if it even comes with anything, do you just skip it? What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, let's have a conversation about it. I really adore learning more about the movies that I watch. I'm a film critic. I'm kind of a movie junkie, but I'm not nearly as experienced as some of my colleagues, and that's why these little bits of help are very, shall we say, helpful. But yeah. Thank you for watching this. If you dug this content, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, share it, ring the bell for notifications, and yeah, join me back next time, whenever that is, whatever that is. We'll be talking about more featured extras. Thanks, and take care.